This is more of a what the hell story than a true horror story, but I'll say it anyway. I was playing D&D with 6 or so people from my board game club that I knew somewhat well. I'd missed the session the week before because of real life, but I thought I'd gotten up to speed with a short recap from the party. Needless to say, I was wrong. At some point in the session, I needed to relieve myself, so I got up to the toilet and let the DM know what I was doing quietly. Cue everyone staring at me like I was crazy, with one party member asking what I thought I was doing. I'm just going to pee. You need to roll for that. I laughed, thinking it was a joke and making my way out anyway, but everyone continued to glare at me and the DM told me to stop, telling me I needed to roll. I come back to the table and rolled a 2, of course. I laughed again and tried to leave one more time, but both the party and the DM were insistent that no, that meant I wasn't allowed to leave. So I sat there, visibly uncomfortable for the next 10 to 20 minutes because, of course, my character wasn't doing anything relevant and not focusing on what was going on before deciding, okay, screw this, I'm going anyway and the RNG gods are not going to stop me. And alright, no one stopped me that time, but they all did give me dirty looks when I came back in the same way you would if someone tried to say, I don't know, split the party. I ended up leaving the campaign a few sessions later for unrelated reasons, and I am still in that board game club. But what the hell? Never thought I'd see a manifestation of that one middle school teacher in a Dungeons & Dragons game, but here we are. Honestly, I think this is more cool. Leaving it up to chance gives you a chance of success, and seeing that chance to piss fall away from you, well, it's enough to break the heart. This is one of those not that bad horror stories, more a cautionary tale. Years ago, before a certain co-writer of the system revealed himself as a massive hypocrite in RPG horror story material, I wanted to try Dungeon World. Luckily, I found a group on Roll20 who wanted to try it out for a few one-shots and joined as a player. We had a session 0 in which the DM made sure to emphasize that he wanted characters to be able to work in a party and not go off doing their own thing. Makes sense for, just a few shots. We create characters and I really liked the other people. All of them had experience in other systems and were quick to grab a playbook and make choices. The GM was rather quiet during the character creation, but I didn't think much of this at the time. In our first, and only, session, the party arrived in a small mountain village. We entered the tavern, had some in-character small talk, and explored the bonds we had pre-created. But we picked up mumblings from the locals that people have gone missing over the past week. The hook for an adventure! And then bang! The tavern door flies open and in strides a snotty, preening stranger. He declares that he is the son of the mighty bandit lord Edo NT. Oh, it's a joke. The son of a mighty bandit lord named I don't remember. That's funny. Anyway, their band of brigands has kidnapped various villagers. They plan to sell them into servitude unless a ransom of some amount of gold pieces, seriously, it's been like 5 years, that amount, whatever it is paid. The gold is to be brought to a clearing in 3 days to make the exchange. He then turns to leave. Our paladin and ranger won't have any of that. Block the doorway and confront him. You don't seriously think you can make a declaration like that and we'll just let you run off? Where are these villagers being held? He responds that if any harm comes to him, the villagers will never be seen again. Yeah, we're not having any of this. We're determined to capture the little snot, interrogate him, and free the villagers before his father even has time to sell them to servitude. Now, that might have been rash or stupid, but I think it's an understandable stance to take and a valid course of action for a party of rugged adventurers. The bandit, and it was very clearly said in the specific snotty accent of the bandit and not the GM's usual voice, insists the villagers will be gone forever if we don't let him leave. We do not relent, and he dodges past the ranger and fighter, both of which fail their roles, so yeah, fair enough. He is out the door and running to the edge of the village. The ranger pulls out her bow and announces a called shot, a specific ability in her playbook. It's debatable if she could do it since it has to be done on a defenseless target, but I would have ruled that a target with his back turned is rather defenseless. But if she can use the move, she can aim for the leg to slow him down. She crits it, which according to the move would hobble him and deal damage. He dies on the spot. I, as the bard, can't use magic to heal him. He is dead in seconds from an arrow through his leg? Okay, that's a downer, but we do what adventurers do. We search his possessions for clues, pocketing any incidental valuables, but Nope, nothing. The ranger looks for tracks, but without a roll gets told that there are none to be found. We ask around the village, but no one knows anything about anything. No caves where a band of robbers might have holed up, rumors of ruins suddenly occupied, trails of smoke from cooking fires in the eastern glades, or any other avenues of questioning we could come up with. Nada, zilch, nothing at all. Finally, the mayor of the village comes up to our increasingly frustrated party and announces that we have doomed the captives and are banned from the village. We should move on and let them mourn. We break character, completely flabbergasted that the GM even let us poke around in search of the plot for what must have been more than an hour and felt a lot longer, just to hit us with that. We openly ask, how are we supposed to find the bandits, since we are stumped? We can't find them. We killed the NPC and failed the quest, as per the GM, and he says that he warned us multiple times that would happen. I mean, really, it was the NPC with a vested interest to pretend it would happen said it, but 4 experienced roleplayers did not get that the GM was trying to communicate out of character because he was using the NPC's distinctive voice, and then he just left us high and dry for the rest of the session. He seemed amused that we tried to find other ways to locate the kidnappers and seemed to have enjoyed listening to our increasing frustration when we did not get any results. Quite surprisingly, the GM wanted to schedule another session, but quite unsurprisingly, we all declined. So I DM a lot, and I don't know about you guys, but when the players destroy a solution to a problem, I'm usually kind of scrambling to make a new one, because if they don't at least have a path to solve the problem, I don't know what the hell they're gonna do for the rest of the session. There's nothing wrong with this, but some of my players are not exactly proactive, so I need to give them a little hook to urge them along the path to finding a new solution. These players are the opposite. They're extremely proactive and seem to find multiple different solutions to this problem. Interrogating NPCs, going to normal bandit hideouts, etc., etc. They were doing everything right, but the DM just decided, nope, nada, this is completely impossible. There is no possible way to find these bandits because you did one thing that really they didn't even do. They tried to shoot the guy on the leg, and the DM just ruled that, I mean, I don't know, I guess the DM ruled that arrow to the knee is lethal damage. Bad news for all the guards in Skyrim, but despite that, this story just reeks of a DM who wants that gotcha moment, that moment of outsmarting the players. But really, guys, outsmarting your players as the DM is not really that big of a deal. You have omnipotent power over this world. It's not a big deal when you beat your players. This isn't cool. It's just extremely frustrating. Disclaimer, disclaimer, disclaimer. So, some backstory here. I, a 40-year-old male, hadn't played D&D until about 5 years ago, but I was always interested. I have checked out subs like this one and RPG Glory Stories on occasion, but never subbed until my girl suggested I write this up, as she sees me as the better writer than her. I disagree, but what up? I live in a polyamorous situation, and one of the girls, I'll call May, 32 female, I live with, would always talk about her character and her adventures. I was enthralled. She invites me to play one day since none of the other girls seemed to have as much interest as I did. I jump on the chance and get to meet her party. The DM seems like a cool guy, makes mention that he does allow PvP in his campaign, but hasn't had much cause to use those rules as the party works well together. The Tabaxi rogue, he feels a little off, kind of sketchy. I initially chalk it up to him being really into his character. I do notice him having a vested interest in May. I joke with May in private that I think he likes her. She confesses he does, but she's not interested in him, and has tried letting him down gently on more than one occasion. Major red flag for me. Being in a poly relationship means May and I can be with whoever else we want, but no still means no. I decide to keep an eye on him. Maybe this affected my choices in character. The human paladin, he's really close with the rogue. Rogue, turns out, they're in a fraternity together in college. I don't mind the inside jokes. I find it endearing. I was in the army, and I understand that level of camaraderie. He seemed like a laid-back dude. The half-elf bard, bit of a rules lawyer. In fact, he loudly claims that he keeps the DM on track, and it seems the DM appreciates his input on occasion. May, she played a half-drow warlock in this, having been bound to Lolth, though Elistari had reached out to her, and she'd been trying to figure out how to escape her situation. Because of this, the party has traveled to the Underdark to help her in her personal quest. I make Mela, dear Agark. We were level 9 and the party didn't have much of the way of healing or arcane power. I opted to make her a blade singer, 5, nature cleric 4, a drow herself. She lived a double life. Her house had nearly been destroyed and her father was a member of the... Are you kidding me? Bregan de... Aether. Jeez. Anyway, look, her father was dedicated to a member of an evil organization, but she was secretly devoted to Elistari and had been helping drow that wished to follow the Dark Dancer, escape the Underdark. It worked well and tied to May's backstory, as they meet her on the path down. She's leading people out. The group seemed to hit it off well. The rogue makes a comment about May and myself and suggests a threesome. I express no interest in a cat creature. He's cute, but not my thing. I agree to help the party. However, as she sees May as kindred, she wants to help her be free of Lolth's influence and power. I help to get them into a sacred temple of Lolth and try to find answers, but the Spider Queen appears. We fight her, but her influence prevents May from being able to help. I grab the party and manage to use a single-use item the DM gave me. It teleports everyone to a safe location I had designated outside of Menzoberranzan in an area called the Labyrinth. I know the twists and turns and lead the party out, but the rogue chimes in that May had planned that trap, that she didn't attack Lolth because she purposefully led us there. I try to remind them that Lolth is the source of her power, and she wouldn't be able to use it against her, no matter how hard she tried. But now, the Paladin and Bard are backing him up. They draw weapons and I sigh, telling May to run. They try to pursue, but I throw up a wall of force, and the tabaxi bounces off of it. May has a good 10-minute head start. I could have joined her. I should have called for things to end, but I was invested, and honestly, I was having a little fun. I call on Elistari to help May escape, and she has a nice roleplay moment. She said she was having a blast too. 10 minutes are up, and I activate my blade song, and the tabaxi bolts past me to pursue May. He has mobile, but so do I. The Paladin gets in my face in an effort to lock me down with Sentinel. I deflect his first attack and just dance out of his way. I am just short of catching the tabaxi, so I misty step right behind him and roll a crit on my attack. He calls me a traitor and attacks in return, missing. The bard goes to cast Hold Person on me. I counterspell. They are all livid. The Paladin rushes up again, and now I'm in a duel against 2 melee combatants. They can't land a hit on me to save their life, and I kill the rogue on my next turn. The bard tries to charm me. I shake it off. I'm an elf. I hit them both with Thunderwave and quickly advance, pushing the Paladin back, killing him next. The bard draws his sword and finds out he's not suited for melee. I kill him next. Dusting myself off, I go to find May, but the session is then interrupted. The rogue is livid, accusing me of being unable to separate out of character from in character. That I only sided with her because we were touching dinkleberries. I'm deeply offended by this for a number of reasons. One being that yes, I care a lot about May. Reducing her to just that phrase will always piss me off. 2, I hadn't considered out of character information at all. My character had a connection with May, based upon Elistari. I remind him of this, and he continues having a conniption, and brings up the fact that we are poly, claiming if that was true, why was it okay for me to mess around, but not her? To my credit, I remained calm, though May says she saw my face start to turn red, and I had that angry glare in my eye. I informed him that she was free to do whatever with whoever she wished. She wasn't interested in him. That was her choice. I hadn't realized me also rejecting him would send him off so badly. He tried to punch me, and I was hoping he did, so I'd be justified in returning the favor at that point. But the Paladin stopped him and pulled him away. The DM apologized and tried to find out when we're getting together again. May and I declined. May had been redeemed by Elistari when we fought, and I didn't feel like this group was a good fit. The Paladin and Bard later reached out to us to apologize. They had thought it was all in good fun, and enjoyed our fight, even though I managed to kill them. They had been vibing with the game. They didn't realize the rogue was so obsessed with May. The Paladin confessed that the rogue had apparently agreed to let him come by, because he thought if he could get with me, he could have May, and my character's reaction left him gutted. We would join another group with the Bard. He'd later leave the group, but we're playing for the long haul now. I just want to share my first experience. Now an RPG horror story, an RPG glory story, came to be wrapped in one. Okay, before the commentary proper though, I do want to go through some bloopers because good God, this was hard to read. I live in a polyamorous situation, and one of the... Turns out they were in a fraternity together in college. I don't mind the inside jokes. I find it endearing. I was in the army. I should have called for things to end, but I was invested, and honestly, I was having a little fun. Did Onision write this? You know, everyone on the subreddit saying this was fake, I don't know what they're talking about. This seems totally real, right, guys? Yeah, no, okay. So normally, I don't like debunking Reddit posts because in my opinion, that just leads you down to the what is true dimension, a downward spiral of questions until eventually you come to the reasonable conclusion of, how do we know anything is true? I've talked about this a little bit in the past, I just don't like doing it, but this has some major red fake flags that just really, yeah, not great. First and foremost, obviously the general tone of the heroic, amazing, macho good guy saving his girl from the evil problem player, taking on the whole party single-handedly. We've actually seen that last one before. It's one of my favorite stories I've ever read, the Mandalorian story from way back. But again, the tone is just different. The way it's written seems more authentic to me. This just comes off as so self-congratulatory. Even if you don't think it's fake, I mean, I really think it makes the author sound incredibly unlikable at the very least. Also, if the author is some kind of troll, I mean, let's just say I've seen some stuff, and they're a dedicated troll if that's the case. But look, it was fun to, I guess, see this whole White Knight fantasy from a first-person point of view. This happened a few years ago. It isn't a horror story so much as something that's just been bugging me. I was in a 5th edition one-shot investigating a shady casino where people had been disappearing. The DM described the main hall of the casino, and one of the things he described was a bathroom off to the side. This was a Magitech world, a la classic Final Fantasy games, so indoor plumbing wasn't that out of place. For the sake of being thorough, I said I'd take a moment to investigate the bathroom. I wasn't really expecting anything, but I did get a short interaction with an NPC crying in one of the stalls, and we talked about how desperate she was for money and how she had blown nearly everything she had left. And she offered a clue as to what exactly was happening. The rest of the party, however, thought this was the most ridiculous plan ever. They started laughing almost immediately when I said I was checking out the bathroom. There were even a few points where they started joking as I went deeper into the casino. Hey, do you want to see if there's another bathroom to investigate? These guys were my friends, and ribbing each other wasn't out of place, but this was starting to upset me, so I asked them to stop, which they did, thankfully. But when I asked later if it really was that silly of an idea, they offered reassurance that being thorough was good, though with an edge that felt like they were just implying it was silly. The rest of the one-shot went fine, and otherwise I had a lot of fun. A few weeks later, one of the people who was in that one-shot shared a meme on Discord about players derailing the DM's campaigns for silly ideas that don't have anything to do with anything. One of the other players then started a long and playful rant about how there's always one, and one of his examples was, there's always someone who decides to investigate the bathroom instead of following the plot. I called this out because I had assumed it was because of the incident in the one-shot. He got defensive and backpedaled, saying he wasn't referring to that incident specifically, and continued to say that I wasn't the only one to do something stupid like that, and I would not be the last. It bothers me because I don't think my point went through to him, that I hated that he was still saying that it was stupid. Spoiler alert, no one likes being told that the thing they want to try is stupid, and frankly, I don't even think it was that stupid. My thinking was that if the DM mentioned it, it was at least worth a brief peek for a more detailed layout if nothing else. You never know when you need a small space to hide or a potential escape point. It's not like I was expecting loot in the damn laboratory. I just wanted to make sure all our bases were covered before we dove into the underbelly of the casino. It's been long enough. It's not really worth confronting my friends about it again. I mostly just wanted to get some validation or maybe an outside perspective. Was it really that crazy or stupid? First and foremost, checking the bathroom, not that stupid at all. Do you know who else forgot to check the bathroom? Salazzo in The Godfather. Do you know what happened to him? Yeah, not stupid. On top of that, the DM actually rewarded you for checking, so really, that's not a dumb thing to do at all. I don't get why the party are so focused over it. I do understand how dumb jokes like this can get carried on, because frankly, me and my friend group make dumb jokes like this all the time, callbacks to mistakes from way back, but I get how it can be annoying. So yeah, asking your friends to stop is the right thing to do, though one meme callback to the incident I don't think is that big of a deal. I think you're doing the right thing by just letting it lay, unless it becomes like a major reoccurring thing that happens constantly. Little background, this is the update to one of my favorite stories of all time, the 2-hour lore dump intro, which was hilarious, by the way. But eyes up, we've got the part 2. People involved: me, the lore dump guy, who I will call Turducken, Turducken's wife, Crazy Cat Lady, my girlfriend, my friend and our 5e DM John, and another friend, Jane. The update: I talked to Turducken and told him what he'd done, lore dumping for 2 hours in the most dry, uninspired, and boring way imaginable, was unacceptable, disrespectful of my time, and completely unnecessary. He doubled down! After a brief discussion, I ended up telling him that I disagreed with whatever the hell that introduction to his system was, and that it had completely killed any interest I had in playing his game. We left it at that. The new story: our group had played a weekend at my house where we would watch the extended versions of Lord of the Rings, and I would run our first ever game of Pathfinder 2nd Edition. We were all really excited. Turducken insisted on running his crappy homebrew system we still knew nothing about. John, who had suffered the lore dump with me, was hesitant. I told Turducken that if the group was okay with playing his system, I would spend the day studying while they played. My girlfriend said no, bless her. Turducken dropped it, as the only one excited to play his game was his wife, Cat Lady. I help everyone to make their sheets. Cat Lady half-asses it and ignores me for 2 weeks while I ask her to fix the things she'd picked wrong, spells and equipment. Turducken makes a ruffian rogue, his own words. The day before the game, on Friday, I pick up John and Jane. Turducken and Cat Lady go silent all day while my girlfriend asks if they're okay. They leave the house 6 hours after they said they would. They arrive at my place, and since Cat Lady is pregnant, I let them sleep at the main bedroom, which is mine. John sleeps at the second bedroom, Jane sleeps on the couch, and my girlfriend and I sleep at my mother's house, who lives a few minutes away. That is to say, I'm treating them well. The next day, the game starts. Throughout the game, Turducken's character is uncooperative, selfish, and endangering the rest of the party. He's close to being thrown in prison for disrespecting a member of the town's council and admitting, in front of her, that he broke into the house of another NPC. He completely ignores his backstory, and the hook I gave him to tie it into the Adventure Path story, Age of Ashes by the way. Essentially, he's playing like a clown. Both my girlfriend and John say that they really did not get what the hell Turducken was aiming for, and that they found his presence at the table disruptive to the game. At one point, Turducken's character actually got both Jane's and Cat Lady's characters drunk and attempted to get them naked in the middle of the tavern. That was my first hard no, and the mood at the table completely changed. John suggested he tried to do something more innocuous, like painting mustaches on their face, or whatever. But it was creepy, and Jane was visibly uncomfortable. They left the next day. I gotta say, they were the worst guests I've ever had. Now, I don't want to bore you with a paragraph of narration, so here's a list of every crappy thing they did while staying at my house. My girlfriend has celiac disease. Cat Lady made the honest mistake of using a knife to spread butter on her bread and stick that knife in my girlfriend's bread, which we keep separate to avoid contamination. The not-so-honest mistake was touching every other clean plate I had in my cupboards after touching her bread and leaving every surface covered in breadcrumbs. While John, Jane, my girlfriend, and I were cooking and putting dishes in the dishwasher all weekend, Turducken did not lift a finger. All he did was eat and drink. He downed 2 entire bottles of whiskey by himself in 2.5 days, by the way. At least he brought them, as none of us drank. Turducken has drank around 6 2-liter bottles of Coke throughout the weekend, which he proceeded to just leave wherever he happened to be at the time. Behind an armchair, at my porch, next to the trash can, but apparently not inside the trash can for some reason. Under the table too, wherever. Turducken brought whiskey with him to my bedroom and drank an intermediate amount of it in there. Speaking of my bedroom, I know both John and Jane heard them. They told my girlfriend as she was dropping them at their places. In fact, Cat Lady told my girlfriend morning after to change the bed sheets. Oh my god. Turducken has loudly peed with the door opened in the bathroom right next to my living room, where the rest of us were trying to enjoy a meal. Cat Lady interrupted me while I was GMing to explain some crap about her work to Jane. My attempts to resume the game proved unsuccessful. Look, table talk is inevitable and I don't mind it, but this went on for 30 minutes, and since Jane was sat across the room from Cat Lady, none of us could hear each other over the conversation. Cat Lady had the audacity to shush John and me the following day as we were laughing to explain some crap about her pregnancy. Cat Lady has taken a BB gun I had in some drawer and handled it in a very unsafe way, pointing it at both Jane and Turducken's faces. Turducken and Cat Lady have made everyone uncomfortable more than once by excessive and inappropriate PDA. Not like a peck, which I would consider normal and healthy, honestly, but some touching and explicit talk. Considering that, you know, what they did on my bed, it's not surprising. My girlfriend actually told me that they've done this several times already when we were playing at John's place, and she accompanied them to get food while I went with John and Jane. While they were leaving, Cat Lady took full advantage of my unwillingness to kick a pregnant woman to keep my porch open for 10 minutes, dropping the temperature of my entire living room. It's winter and pretty cold here. She did this to lure a stray cat into my house, despite me telling her that I know the cat, and it neither wants to be inside nor wants me or anyone else touching it. This is after me telling her 4 or 5 times to close the door and leave the poor cat alone. I do not know how people over 30 are able to be this absolutely stupid and disrespectful towards their host and the other guests. Intrusive, careless, dirty, and just overall, they were assholes. I know that many of the horror stories here would be prevented or fixed by a simple conversation. Even though I was not interested in staying friends with them, I wrote Cat Lady a few hours ago that their attitudes were completely disrespectful, shameless, and disgusting. They both denied it, even though another player, John, avoids conflict at all costs and would set himself on fire rather than talk crap about someone if it isn't a big deal. Turducken and Cat Lady started calling me, so I blocked them both after kicking them from my group. TLDR, I invite assholes into my house. And they did stuff on my bed. Okay, first and foremost, when you are a guest in someone's home, treat their home with respect, especially if they essentially lend their home to you. Okay? I am an extremely paranoid person. I would never, ever do this. But if I did, my expectation would at the very least be that you show my home some respect, which is something that these people don't do. I don't think I need to explain that to you guys, but still, the principle stands. I know these things aren't really D&D things, but it doesn't really matter. When you're playing a TTRPG with a group, that group needs to like each other. When you're acting disrespectful and shameless like this, it makes the group dislike you. No one's gonna want to play together, and therefore it's not gonna matter how good you are at the TTRPG table. If everyone hates you outside the table, no one's gonna like you at the table either. I mean, I don't know what I was expecting from somebody who shamelessly, unironically, and unapologetically dumped a 2-hour lore dump on the party. I mean, really, yeah, this behavior checks out. Alright, and that is it for today's episode of RPG Horror Stories. Had a lot of fun with this one, and I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, then please do leave a like. If you want to see more of my content, then you can check out our Tavern adjacent podcast, where we talk about general TTRPG stuff, while also talking about some of your horror stories and questions. You can check it out in the cards, and while you're there, subscribe to Crispy Tavern to get more of our content as it comes out. And finally, if you want to leave your own thoughts, go down in the comments down below. If you want to send your stories directly to me, there is an email linked in the description where you can send your own horror stories for a chance to maybe get featured in one of these videos. But with all that being said, in essence, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you all next time. Farewell.